licensed real estate market expert here in Charlotte. Looks like I have 2 people on already, and I already have 1 like, which is awesome. I just recently learned how to schedule these lives, so that's what I'm doing right now. So if you're in here right now, fire away, drop me a question. Like I said, I actually am live here. And I know sometimes people don't know if I am or aren't, but you guys know this. Every first Thursday of the month at 4 p.m. Eastern, we go live to answer any and all of your questions about anything in regards to Charlotte, the surrounding areas, zip codes, suburbs, neighborhoods, anything you can think of that I could potentially help you with. With that being said, I just got back from, hey Tracy. With that being said, I just got back from Scottsdale, Arizona. Why would I go to Scottsdale in July? I don't know, but I do know because we got an awesome deal at this really, really nice hotel. And Scottsdale is great. I mean, it was such a good time. The Mexican food was some of the best Mexican food I have ever had. Could I live in Scottsdale? I don't know. I don't think so. Even though it was hot and sunny every single day. It was hot and sunny every single day, but everything just looked like a little too dull. Like, it's the desert, you know what I mean? And it's just very interesting. And even flying into Scottsdale, looking at the desert, looking at the mountains and all that stuff versus coming into Charlotte, it's crazy the difference. But it was my first time out on the West Coast, so I got to experience it, and it was awesome. I had a really great time over there, or something like that when it's winter time, because I know that's when their weather's probably perfect in the 80s and 90s, and hopefully still, super sunny. I did not see one cloud, one tiny little cloud I did not even see over there, which is kind of crazy. But no, it was super fun. I'm excited. Back here in Charlotte, where it's still hot and humid. Over there it was like 110, 115. And over here it's, 90, 95. But the humidity makes all the difference. So very interesting. I thought it would be like nothing, but Scottsdale was like an oven. Like, it was crazy. But it looks like I got 6 people on here, guys. I'm live right now, so comment, leave me a question. I'm happy to answer anything that you might have. Otherwise, if you don't have anything for me, I'll just go ahead and kind of start ranting on my own. Perfect. On here now. So we got Bouts family. Hey bud, finally caught one of your live streams. Yeah, I'm glad you caught it, man. Farouk, what's going on, my friend? I hope you're doing good. I know you're still looking at some of the listings I'm sending you, and I'm sure you're seeing there's absolutely nothing. Our inventory is down, over 25%, which is kind of crazy. The interest rates are still relatively high, low 7s, and that's with really good credit scores. It's just such an interesting time. And I know a lot of people right now that I know, they're just like, hey, I need to wait and kind of see what happens in these next couple months, what's going to happen with the rates and everything like that. My Cricket Cafe, does it make sense to buy a rental property in this market? Any specific areas of Charlotte to consider for rental purposes? So that's a good question. It depends on what you're looking for. Are you able to buy this rental property in all cash, where you can get all of that rental income and it could all be positive net flow? Are you looking to only make a certain amount, $200, $300, $400, $500 a month off of this rental property? Are you looking to do a short-term rental? There's so many areas to consider. As far as investing goes, it sounds like you have the capital where you can invest, and I always think it's a good idea to invest, especially if you're planning on keeping it for a minimum of 5 years. I always say that. Some people say a shorter time frame. I always recommend 5 years, and I do think it makes sense to buy a rental property if you're keeping it for the long term. So I'm not really sure. The question was kind of broad, but if you want to dive in, give me a little bit more specifics of what you're looking to do. If you're looking to invest for appreciation, if you're looking to invest for cash flow, if it's a short-term rental as well, that's definitely going to take into consideration specific areas. If it's a short-term rental, you want to be in the highly condensed areas, South End, Dilworth, Uptown, places like that will have those short-term rental options available for you. And I'm sure you guys have been seeing some of the stuff if you've been keeping up with it, but Airbnbs, people are expecting a flood of houses to come to the market because Airbnbs, the bookings have gone down drastically and things like that. I'm not playing into that. We probably are going to see a couple of them listed on the market and things like that, but I don't think it's anything to cause really attention to, unless every single Airbnb that has gone down decides to get listed on the same exact day where we're able to build up a little bit of inventory. But I don't see that happening at all. You know, it just doesn't make too much sense. My Cricket Cafe, $350,000 to $400,000 property at 20%. So right now, what we're seeing in the market is very interesting. The higher priced homes, you know, let's say the luxury market. Luxury market is defined as usually 2 times the median price point. Our median price point is just under 390. So, you know, you're looking at luxury price point being roughly 780,000 plus. The houses that are listed, you know, $800,000 plus, we're seeing more activity as far as prices coming down, as far as more negotiation being had, as far as sitting on the market longer. And the median price point is actually staying very stable. I would probably recommend you're in the median price point right now between 350 to 400. If you're looking for an investment property, I think it might be a good idea to wait a little bit closer towards the end of the year. That's just in my opinion. But the median price points are staying stable, and the price points $780,000, $800,000 plus. There's a lot more wiggle room with those. I've seen a couple luxury houses in the multi-million dollar price points that have had pretty big price decreases lately. 100,000, 200,000. I seen one that was $250,000, and that house I believe was listed at like around 1.9, and they dropped the price by 250,000. But the median price point's still holding very strong. I would probably just wait it out a little bit. Just give it a couple months to kind of see where things settle, and then look into, you know, an investment property at that price point. Farouk, is summertime supposed to have more inventory? Yes, so June and July, we're usually supposed to see a very big spike in the inventory. We see it every single year. It's the seasonal stuff that happens, and this year it's gone down. It's crazy. Because of the rates, sellers just aren't selling. You know, if you have an interest rate that's under 5%, you know, under 4%, it really doesn't make sense for you to sell your house and then get into a more expensive house at an interest rate that's in the low sevens to mid sevens. So a lot of sellers are just not, you know, they're kind of pulling back. They're not listing their houses on the market. And right now, what I'm kind of worried about is a lot of pent up demand is being placed on buyers. So I look at it like a rubber band. You know, you keep pulling back the rubber band, you keep pulling back. What's going to happen when the rates go low? The rubber band snaps, and two things can happen. Buyers can flood back into the market if the rates start dropping, because as soon as we see a rate drop, we see mortgage applications go up. So if that happens and the rates drop, buyers could flood the market again, and prices can go up to ridiculous levels again. And or what I think would happen if that happened, sellers would feel a lot more comfortable listing their house and buying a new house. So I think it would essentially level out the market. But right now there's so many variables at play, and it's ridiculous. We know that the rates are going to stay steady, and I guarantee you they're probably going to go up. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw even higher rates for the rest of the year and towards the end of the year. But yes, we're supposed to have a lot more inventory right now, but we don't. The sellers aren't selling because of the high rates. And, you know, if you have a rate that's under 5%, why would you sell and most likely upgrade to a more expensive house, bigger house, at a 7.25 or a 7.5 interest rate? Miles Flop, moving to Charlotte in August. Your content has been very helpful. Miles, I just saw your comment that you left on my Uptown Charlotte NC is back video, but I was hopping on the live, so I didn't get a chance to respond. But thanks for watching, man. And if you have any questions, I know you had mentioned in the comment that you were thinking about South End, but once it comes time for you guys to move here in the next couple months, feel free to call, text, or email me anytime. I'm happy to help, but appreciate you watching the channel. Silver CPA, what are your thoughts on Concord? Seems to be more affordable for first-time home buyers. I like Concord, especially depending on where you want to be. So Concord is huge. So you have a more kind of rural area of Concord, and then you have the more condensed area of Concord, which is like a couple miles away from Concord Mills Mall. But I personally like Concord. I think it's a great option to take into consideration. It's going to grow a lot more. Even if you're driving through Concord right now, you're going to see condos, apartments, townhouses, and single-family communities being built everywhere. And I believe Red Bull is, I don't know if it went through yet, but I believe Red Bull is wanting to put somewhat of a distribution center, a headquarters over there, which is going to bring a ton more jobs to the area. And when we see some of those big companies come in like that, you can expect to see more developments start to happen within the area as well. So I like Concord. Short answer, I like Concord. Any of those areas, Concord, Huntersville, Indian Trail, Belmont, Mount Holly, I like a lot of those kind of outskirts area for first time home buyers, especially because you get more house for the money. A lot of those houses out there are going to be newer as well. They're going to be usually built in the 90s plus, 2000s plus. Yes, you can find 70s, 80s homes, but a majority of them are going to be 90s plus, which I like as well. But yeah, to answer your question, I do like Concord for sure. Metro Elite, do you work with self-employed truckers? I'm interested in 350,000 and lower. What am I up against? So yeah, I work with honestly everybody. I don't discriminate on price point or anything like that. I would have to get you connected with my lender. You know, they're the ones, because self-employment can sometimes be hard to get approved, especially if your income's fluctuating. Hopefully your income's steadily staying steady and or going up and things like that. But I'd get you connected with my lender, and she will take care of you and let you know what price point you'll be at. If there's a certain monthly payment that you want to be within, she'll let you know kind of what's the best as far as that goes. And it depends on what you're looking for in an area. You know, that $350,000 price point, yes, it's tough, but it depends on what you're looking for, you know. But we can definitely make that. Just, you know, I'll tell you right now, I'm very upfront and honest. So if we were to get on a phone call or something like that and you said, Sasha, I want a 4-bedroom 2,200 square foot house for 350,000, I'll most likely tell you that's not going to happen unless you want to go 40 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes away from Center City Uptown. We can take a look at Statesville, Locust, Troutman, things like that. Silver CPA, you'll deal with Concord as well too, I assume. I do. I just had a closing out in Concord in the Covington neighborhood, and we actually got this house for $35,000 under the listed price. The reason being, the house was original owners. The house was built in 98 or 99, but original owners, they really didn't do any updates. A lot of the stuff was original. The paint was a little bit dingy. It had carpet everywhere. So we ended up getting the house for $35,000 under the asking price. My clients got all of the floors redone. We got everything painted, and it is night and day from what it was. It's insane. It doesn't even look like the same house. But I definitely like Concord. And if you want to take a look, I got a little snippet on my Instagram at QC Home Group of that house that I'm talking about in Concord. Yeah, Dario R., the Huntersville Lagoon project plan is being scaled down. Dario, I just read about that. I want to say like 2 or 3 days ago. And I'm waiting until we get a little bit more clarification on what's going to happen before I make an updated video on that. But it sucks. I mean, from what I read, they're now with the scale down, they don't want to put the hotel, they don't want to put the conference center. And I get it from both sides. Maybe me selfishly wanting a Blue Lagoon near Charlotte, or maybe taking advantage of that. I selfishly want it. But then I think, what if I lived in Huntersville or something like that, right along those lines? How would I feel about a massive project like that? I still think I would like it, and I think other people would too, but it'll be interesting. You know, it'll definitely be interesting to see what they end up scaling it down to, and what happens with that project. But it's so cool. I mean, it's so cool. I know it's a man-made artificial lagoon, but I mean, crystal clear waters, white sands. And the hotel I was just at in Scottsdale, Arizona, they actually had white sand imported from Miami. And it was very kind of like a similar type of deal. And I was like, this would be cool if we had it. Dario R., traffic in Huntersville is already horrendous, but yeah, it would be cool to have. That's the main thing. Once they had the city council meeting or whatever it was, a lot of the residents in Huntersville were just like, the traffic is going to be outrageous if you build this 270-acre Blue Lagoon with all this stuff. And I agree, you know, it probably would be. Right, and Huntersville always has construction, I feel like, on the main roads. Silver CPA, good to know, sir. I'm renewing in August for another year in Arbo area, but I think you know who. but think I know who I'll be calling. I'll follow your market updates. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. All my contact information is going to be linked down below. You can find it anywhere. So reach out to me anytime, man. I'd love to chat with you. Metro Elite, thank you. I appreciate you watching the videos. I know I say that often anytime somebody comments or something like that, but you guys have no idea how much, I mean that. I really do appreciate all you guys watching and asking me these questions. There's no such thing as a bad question, especially the first time home buyers out there. Sometimes that might feel hesitant to reach out to me directly. I love doing these lives because you can ask whatever you want and I'll be happy to answer for you. Silver CPA, Huntersville is a dope town to raise a family. Wish it wasn't hard to find something good for 400,000 there. That's the only tough part. A lot of young professionals are heading into the Huntersville area, and the prices, just like a lot of other places in and around Charlotte, have just been going up. And I don't want to talk about what the prices were 5, 6, 7+ years ago because it'll make you cry. But yeah, I mean, the prices are definitely going up, but it's an area that's growing a ton, and I don't see it slowing down anytime soon. I really don't. RJ Spain, I hope you're doing well, my friend. Landis, close to I-85, some distance down. I mean, uptown is Mooresville. I'm not sure if you're talking about Landis community. To be honest with you, I'm not familiar with it. Silver CPA, LOL, I already saw, sucks missing that boat. Yeah, I was actually planning, I was thinking about maybe doing a video and showing you guys what the price is in and around Charlotte and some of these like high-end neighborhoods and stuff like that were, 5+, 6+ years ago and things like that. But I was like, not only is it going to hurt my feelings, it's also going to hurt a lot of other people's feelings. So I don't know if I'll do that, but we'll see. And I had, let's see, Dario R, thoughts on Denver and Fort Mill. So Denver, funny enough, I helped somebody buy a lake house in Denver a couple years ago, and the appreciation has gone skyrocketing. Denver, I like used to be a lot more affordable, but Denver, along with everything else, has gone up in price a good amount. If you can find something in Denver, I like it. Still a very short distance to uptown. You're probably about 30 minutes away. You have lake access as well, but from what I saw, the prices have been going up in Denver as well. Fort Mill, I like as well. Fort Mill, obviously South Carolina, so it might be a little bit different for you. My only thing with South Carolina, it's so close to North Carolina, so close to uptown, but the feel is just different. It has a little bit of a different feel. I can't really point my finger out on it. It feels a little bit more rural than a lot of places just right outside the other border in North Carolina, but I like Fort Mill. A lot of people like Fort Mill because of the schools and because of the type of house you can buy for similar money. I think it's definitely a great option. RJ Spain, just north of Kannapolis, doing another appraisal there this week. Yeah, I'm not sure about that community, to be honest with you. Landis. I know Kannapolis is growing a ton. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on over there. I'm not sure if you guys know, but Haas, the Formula One team, their headquarters are actually in Kannapolis, which is pretty awesome. Dario, yeah, definitely though. Denver and Fort Mill I take into consideration. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Denver was more expensive than Fort Mill, which I think it is. So I definitely consider Fort Mill a little bit more heavy, especially since I know you mentioned around that $400,000 price point. I think you can get a very nice size 3-bedroom home, possibly even a 4-bedroom home in a pretty good neighborhood in that Fort Mill area. And if you're okay with it, you can venture off into Rock Hill as well, but Rock Hill is just a little bit further out than Fort Mill. But it provides a lot of the same stuff, especially if you can get something essentially off of like Gold Hill Road or something like that over there in South Carolina. That's where a lot of activity is, and if you can be somewhere over there, I think you'll definitely like it. But I had somebody reach out to me yesterday, actually, Kim, and she was asking about the Ballantine Reimagined project. I know you guys, I don't know if you saw the video I did on the Ballantine Reimagine project, but she was asking about, for sale units. A lot of people are going to want to invest in that area and or buy a condo to live in. But as of right now, as far as that goes, I don't think they're have anything in the plans for selling right now. What I know is they're planning to have 700 residential units. More often than not, when you start to see people building like 5, 6, 700 units, they're usually going to sell at least 100 to 200 of them. There's a lot of communities and stuff like that that started off, hey, we're going to build this 500 unit residential space. They'll sell 100 and then they'll lease out the rest of the 400. But if you got just make sure you're subscribed. Any and all of these updates for the communities, all of these big projects, master plan stuff. I'm going to be doing updates as we go through those. I'm excited. I'll be doing one on the River District soon as I get a little bit more clarification. I know they've started, but I want to get a little bit more timeline dialed in, which the River District is gonna, it's gonna shape that whole west side of the area completely different, which is gonna be awesome. Silver CPA, Ballantyne is going to be a huge winner over the years. Yes, but Ballantyne's a winner right now, so many people that reach out to me that are looking in certain areas, it seems like Ballantyne is always mentioned in the top 3 or top 5 of areas people want to consider, so Ballantyne's a winner now, and I think it's definitely going to be in the future. But again, something like Huntersville, the traffic is something that people in Ballantyne are really not going to like, but it's just what you deal with, all the condensed areas, South End, all those areas, Uptown, all those areas have high traffic, and it's what you can expect, Anywhere you have a bunch of shopping, a bunch of stuff to do, you have more people, more cars, more traffic. So if you want to be in one of those areas, it's just one of those things you're going to have to put up with, unfortunately. Fortunately and unfortunately. Dario R, seems like everywhere charges HOA fees lately. Yeah, I tell people a lot. I talk to people all the time from all over the country. And sometimes people say, hey, I don't want to live in a community that has an HOA. And I tell them right off the bat, hey, that's going to be a big hurdle. A majority of the neighborhoods in Charlotte, its surrounding suburbs and all that stuff have HOAs. So what you can do is minimize the costs and things like that. From my experience, if you're under $500 a year for your HOA, that's when you're not going to really have amenities. As soon as you start getting into $600, $700, $800 a year plus, that's when you start to have pools, tennis courts, and things like that. But I have seen a couple other new construction communities that don't have an HOA. They have like a voluntary HOA, which they're charging like $250 a year for. And that's just kind of, keeping everybody set to a standard. Hey, make sure you're cutting your grass. They'll clean stuff up and things like that, but nothing major. But yeah, I'd honestly say roughly like 80% of the neighborhoods in and around Charlotte will have some type of HOA. The HOAs get rough when it's $200 plus a month with 7% rate. That burns bad on an already $2,500 mortgage. So if you're finding stuff, Silver CPA, if you're finding stuff that's $200 a month as far as an HOA goes, you're most likely looking at like townhouses and condos. There's not a lot of communities. We have some, but there's not a lot of communities that are $200 a month. I live in a townhouse and my HOA is $215 a month. It's $210 or $215. I can't even remember. Yeah, so yeah, you're looking at townhouses. Unfortunately, yeah, if you're looking at townhouses, that's on the lower end. Like $200 a month, if you're looking at a townhouse or a condo, that's low for having an HOA. A majority of them are going to be like $250 plus a month. And especially if you start to have amenities, once you get a pool in there or something like that, I mean, you're at $350 a month. Some of the HOAs that we have in Uptown and South End and Dilworth and Myers Park, I mean, they're $400 plus a month. So if you're looking at townhouses with HOAs of 200, that's on the lower end, just so you know, which is good. Also, really quick, what I want to touch on with that, you want to take into consideration what the HOA covers. Some of these townhouse communities, the HOAs pay for a master insurance policy. So once you go to get home insurance, your insurance provider is going to ask you, does your HOA have a master insurance policy? And if you do, which a lot of them do, you can actually save money on your home insurance costs. My HOA includes my water, so you're saving, 60, 80, $100 a month on that. So sometimes the HOAs aren't that bad. My HOA also includes roofs. So when it's time to replace our roof, they're just going to say, hey guys, it's time to replace our roof. This is when we're doing it. You don't need to pay any extra money, any extra assessments. So sometimes it's worth it. You just got to take a look in it. So if you have a question about a specific community or something like that, you can reach out to me if the house is on the market. I'll get you the bylaws and I'll get you the property disclosures for the house, and it'll tell you what's all included in your HOA. Because if you think about it, if you're paying $250 a month and your HOA includes water, that could be $100 a month essentially kind of off, your HOA bill because you're not paying for that. And if they are including the roof, if they're replacing the roof or whatever, obviously it's minimal. You're paying a lot more. But also if they're doing the exterior maintenance, if they're pressure washing once every 2 years, if they're maintaining the property and things like that, it's really not that bad of a gig, paying $200 or $250 a month, as long as you're getting something a little bit for it. That's what I'm here for. And that's a great question. I don't think anybody's asked me that question, so I appreciate you asking it, and I hope it helps some other people as well. Farouk, is there any new community building or planning in 28277, which is the Ballantyne zip code? So right now, I don't think there's many. I think there might be 2 communities or so, but I don't even think that. I think those might be kind of rental new construction communities. That area, essentially the Ballantyne area, there's not too much land to be developed, and a lot of it is just getting bought up, and other places are being built. As far as neighborhoods goes, it's pretty tough. I know there's a good amount of new construction townhomes in the 28277 zip code, but I know for you, you're not really interested in that. So honestly, I don't think I can't, right now off the top of my head, I can't think of one new single family home community being built in the 28277 zip code. Any and all questions, guys? You guys are on fire so far. A lot of good questions coming in right now, which I love. Dario R, some parts of the country are seeing declines in demand. Are you thinking that will affect Charlotte too? I love Charlotte, but Charlotte isn't, it isn't a special city that is immune to something happening to the market, to the demand, or anything like that. Right now, everything is very, very stable. I talk with a lot of people from these other states, and I talk with other realtors in these other states, and a lot of them, they've had declines of close to 20%. And things like that. Demand right now is down. Pending sales are down just under 7%, but new listings are down over 25%. So the demand is still outweighing the inventory that we have in the market, but it's going to be interesting. Silver CPA, how much better does a 20% down payment offer to a 10%? The biggest thing is obviously if you're putting down 20%, you don't have to pay PMI, which is private mortgage insurance, which depending on the price of the home can save you like $200 to $300 a month. So that's a big chunk right there. And you're putting down 20%. So just naturally, even without the PMI, your mortgage balance that you're paying off is going to be lower. So it all depends. I tell everybody, this is a great question to ask the lender. So my lender that I work for, she puts things side by side and lets you know if it makes sense. Because a lot of people have the same question. Hey, should I put 20% down or 10%? What's the difference between me putting down 5 and 10% or whatever the case? And when she does the math, when she breaks it down for you, it's like, okay, if I put an extra 10% down, that's an extra $30,000. I will save $76 a month on my mortgage payment, but I'll also save, this PMI. So essentially what it comes down to is, hey, all in all, I'll save $150 a month, but I have to give $30,000 extra out of pocket. Does that really make sense for me? Can I utilize that extra money I was going to put down and make more than what I'm going to save and things like that? So that's going to be a great question for a lender. Sorry, typo. I meant like, how does the offer look to the seller competition wise? So the other question was good, but this one's good too. The market's still completely different from what it was. I don't really think that it's going to matter too much as far as that goes. A lot of sellers were before looking for people, hey, what are you putting down and things like that, which it is their business because you want to accept a good offer and things like that. But again, they look at the due diligence fee, they look at the earnest money, they look at who your lender is, which is very important. Are there any options? Dario, are there many options for duplex multifamily homes in the Charlotte area? Great question. Not really. Charlotte is very much a newer city. It's not like a lot of places up north and things like that where there's a ton of duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes. We do have some, but it's so interesting because a lot of them fall in very expensive areas and or very low income areas. So it's one of those things. But no, I don't come across them too often. That will change as a lot of stuff is changing in Charlotte. You're going to see a lot more, duplexes, attached dwelling units, additional dwelling units. You're going to see a lot of that stuff in the next 10 years. But right now, there's just not a lot of duplexes, triplexes as compared to a lot of other cities in the country. Laura Theo, hey Sasha, this is Lorita. I need a land. Any recommendations for land? What are you looking for? Where are you looking for and what are you looking for? So I'll be honest with you. I stopped dealing with land. I had one deal that was very much a big headache last year, and I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm not dealing with land. People think it's easy to deal with land, so now I have somebody I can recommend you, that all they do is deal with land and help people buy and sell land. I personally can't. It's a big headache for me. Lorita, do this. Like I said, I don't deal with land, but I'm happy to set you up on a search in MLS, which is the system we use as realtors. So if you want to reach out to me, my email is below. If you want to email me what you're looking for, hey, I'm looking in a subdivision. I'm looking for something that has city sewer, city water. I'm looking for something a quarter acre plus. I'm looking for something that I can build, this big of a house on. I'm looking for something with no HOA. If you want to email me that info, I will set you up on a land search. But like I said, I personally don't deal with land. If you want somebody to help you out with that, just reach out to me and put that in the email and I'll get you connected with somebody, no problem. Farouk, I have checked the Reventure website and based on that, CLT is overvalued by 25 to 30% and it should go down. Do you agree with that? I don't. I don't. I've been saying I think we're gonna see a 20% decrease from our all-time highs. I still think that's a possibility, but it just hasn't happened. We went down 11% this past January, February, which I think we're going to see again. November, December, January, February. I think we're gonna see that again. I think we're gonna see that median price point go under 350 this year, depending on a lot of different factors. So I still see it potentially happening, but the question is when. This market is not going to stay like this forever. Eventually, it's going to give. Eventually, we're going to build up more inventory. Eventually, the rates are going to come back down. But is that going to happen in the next, 6 months, 12 months, 24 months, 36 months? Nobody knows. So, it's just one of those things. But 25 to 30%, no. I think a max of 20% from our all-time highs is going to be a lot more, realistic. The demand is still up. I'm telling you, it seems like everybody that's buying a house has money. It's kind of crazy, and sometimes it doesn't make sense with everything that we have kind of going on. But Charlotte is holding very strong. It's still an inbound state. I mean, it really hasn't slowed down from people moving here. People are still moving here every single day, and it's not changing, I think max of 20%, but the question is when, The question is not only when, but if, if there's so much pent up demand and things like that, if rates happen to drop, we could see a whole nother madness, but eventually it's going to get back to normal. I'm fingers crossed it has to. I just want a neutral market where it's good for both parties. There's nothing, I don't want it to be one-sided on either side, What about the 485 side from Rocky River to Mallard Creek, North Lake? I like that side because, yeah, you're over there by Highland Creek. So, especially if you're a first-time home buyer, I like that area. If you're looking for a 3-4 bedroom, yeah, I like that area. I can't remember the name of the development, but I can't remember the name of the development. It's going to be over there by Harrisburg. So I think that's going to do pretty well for that area, which is going to bring a little bit more activity. But, with good highway access, that's what people look for. People look for good highway access. So if you're centered right around 485, not right next to the highway, next to that, retaining sound wall, but if you're within that area, I like it, And just a note, for areas like that, you tend to see a lot of investors. Investors love the normal 3-4 bedroom houses, 2.5 bath. the 1,500 square feet up to 2,000 square feet. That's kind of their bread and butter. I'll tell you guys what though, every single house that I've been remotely interested in looking at for myself, I end up not even going to look at it because I get an alert. I get an email from the agent. Hey, Sasha, I see you got a showing scheduled here. Just want to let you know there's multiple offers. And I'm just like, I'm not doing it. I'll do it for my clients, but I don't feel like going through the hassle of doing it for myself. So we'll see, but I'm gonna knuckle down or bear down as we get closer, towards the end of the year. Any and all questions, guys, welcome. I know we got 14 people on here, so drop me some more questions. Everything we've had so far is great. I'm loving all these questions, and I can't wait to re-upload this because I think it's gonna help a lot of people. Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. Like nobody's selling. Our new listings are down over 25% when they're supposed to be seasonality. They're supposed to be at the peak right now. It's so interesting, but it makes sense. And the rates, I don't see the rates coming down at all this year. Maybe fluctuating a little bit here and there. Even by the lake, impossible to find anything. Yeah, it's high demand area. High demand area over there. Here we go. Farouk, I don't think it will be a lot of demand even if the interest rate is cut because a lot of people have been laid off. Unemployment should be high to decrease inflation. I agree with you. I've said this on my market reports too. A lot of stuff that's happening does not make sense. I don't understand because we're having layoffs. I think we're in a recession even if the government doesn't want to say it. And people are still very much like buying homes, and it almost feels like none of it is affecting people, which is kind of crazy. I think it should. I 100% think it should. A lot of the math that you see out there with what's happening, and depending on what state, but like people are spending, for like 45% of their income on their monthly mortgage. They're spending 45% of their like gross monthly income on their mortgage, which it's not supposed to be like that. I think healthy is like, I don't know, maybe 20 to 25%. It's like almost double that, which it logically doesn't make sense at all, but people are still buying. And that's kind of what it's been hard for me to kind of get my head wrapped around that. Like it really has. It's crazy. I see the numbers and all that, but it doesn't make sense. You see this, you see the average car payment, in the United States is $700 a month. And you're like, how do people afford that? I know the student loans are supposed to come back. I can't remember when. I want to say September, but people are going to start, paying back their student loans again. I'm wondering if that's going to affect the real estate market in any way. I think once that comes back, I think a lot of people that have student loans, they're not going to be able to get pre-approved for a home. And we'll see, Farouk probably one paycheck away from bank. I agree. I don't, I don't know, obviously I don't know people's personal finances and things like that. So I don't know, but right now it feels like every single person has 20% to put down. Every single person has, all this money for a house when I know it's not real. Not everybody does. I know unaffordability is at the highest it's ever been. But people are still, buying the houses. It's interesting. Axel, what's up, my friend? Thanks for tuning in, man. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's one of those things. It's crazy. I can't remember if it was on my last live or something like that, but I showed my wife a house that I was interested in looking at, and she was like, "Oh my God, let's go see it this weekend," and she got like really excited about it. I'm like, before we go see it, let's pull out the mortgage calculator. Pulled up the mortgage calculator and she's like, oh my God. It's like over three times the amount, that we pay for our mortgage right now. And she's like, maybe we should calm down a little bit. And that's the reality of it. If you pull up the mortgage calculator right now, type in whatever price range you're looking at, include taxes, include insurance, include your down payment. You'd be surprised, It's crazy to think that now 2 years ago, a $600,000 house, your monthly mortgage payment with taxes, insurance, all that stuff was $2,500 or under $3,000. Now you look at that same exact house and you're looking at like between $4,500 to $4,800 a month. That's $1,500 to $2,000 more a month from what it was 2 years ago. And yeah, it's crazy. But I think a lot of people are going into it where they can't afford it now. But some people, I hope it doesn't screw them up. You know, I hope they're not going into it like, hey, I can afford it now, or I can afford it for 6 months, a year, but they're hoping that the interest rates drop so they can refinance. You know, I hope a lot of people aren't making that mistake of trying to do that. Dario R, flying up to Cleveland in a few weeks. My parents selling their house there. So I don't know if you know, but I moved here from Cleveland, Ohio. So the Cleveland market's actually good. I have a friend that's a realtor up there, and I know their market's pretty good, but it's interesting. The market report, make sure you guys have subscribed, because the market report's going to be coming out very soon in the next week. And if you're watching this back, it's going to already be out, so make sure you watch that. Dario, yeah, it's so interesting. I'm like one of the rare people that moved from like a lower cost city to Charlotte. So Cleveland's a lot less expensive than Charlotte. So moving here, everything was more expensive for me, when normally people go from higher price cities to, you know, a little bit cheaper cost of living. But yeah, my wife is from there. She's born and raised in Cleveland. All her family's there. So, you know, she'll send me links and stuff like that. Hey, look, we can buy this 4-bedroom house, you know, over here for 250. They were built like in the early 1900s, you know, 1920, 1910, and things like that. But she'll send me that stuff, and I'm like, wow, I can really buy like a 4-bedroom single family home that's move-in ready for 250,000. And here, to be in the area that I want to be at and things like that, there's not a chance. You know, I got to add another 150 to 250,000 on top of that, you know, to kind of get a comparable home and thing like that. But I'll never move back to Cleveland, Ohio. Hopefully, fingers crossed. I never want to. I love it in Charlotte. It's amazing, and it's all perspective. It depends on where you move from as well. But I love it here. Great questions on here so far. I'll stay on for another 15 minutes or so if you guys need me. But so far we got some great questions. I moved from Cleveland to Pittsburgh to Charlotte. Okay. Well, you know how Cleveland and Pittsburgh are not the best of friends, but great rivals. But yeah, I mean, you know, if you moved here from Cleveland or Pittsburgh, you're not going anywhere. You're not getting homesick anytime soon. I've spoken to a lot of people from Florida, actually, that are starting to look at Charlotte. And Florida was always my top 5 of where people were moving to Charlotte from, for me. And it's just interesting talking to people that, you know, live in Tampa, live in, you know, Fort Myers, live in Miami, that are moving to Charlotte. But even they're telling me it's getting crazy unaffordable. And my friend just bought a house recently in Orlando, and he just recently got a notice that his insurance was going up an extra $200 a month. I'm not sure what's going on over there, but they're having all of their insurance and stuff like that. I don't know if it's car insurance, if it's like home insurance, or like hurricane insurance, but they're having some problems with that stuff. You know, an extra $200 a month, that's a lot of money, and it definitely affects your debt to income ratio when you're looking to purchase a house. So we'll see. Baruch, I know you got that, you said you had that Reventure website. I've seen it before, and I see the guy that makes those videos on YouTube too. He seems like a smart guy. The only thing that sucks is, I mean, if you listen to him in 2020, you missed out on a lot of equity. But I'm curious to know your thoughts on what you think of the system and all that. Sounds interesting. The website does. How do you think the decline of remote work will affect the job market in Charlotte? That's a pretty good question. And I've seen houses that were purchased last year and the last 2 years that are back on the market right now. And I'm always wondering why they're selling. You know, did they buy the house? Did they maybe not like the neighborhood? Did they maybe get a job transfer? Did they maybe get called back into work and they were working remotely and all this stuff? Right now, I don't see really the effect, but it definitely would. You know, if a lot of people moved here, which they did, you know, a lot of people had moved here because they were able to work remote, and if they got called back into work, it would definitely affect the houses and potentially the job market. But right now the market's just solid. I'm not seeing any of this stuff, you know, going into fruition. A lot of stuff that people thought. So, you know, I understand, you know, the prices are high. Everybody's trying to grasp for straws and, you know, give an explanation of why the prices need to come down. They have to come down because they've just gone up, you know, such a good amount. But we'll see. Only time will tell. You know, Axel, have you watched Michael Bordanaro's YouTube channel before? I think I have. I actually spoke to. If he's the one that's in Florida when he walks around the neighborhood and records himself, if that's him, I've seen him. I talked to Michael about 2 years ago. I talked to him about the real estate market and all of that stuff. And depending on where, because he's an agent, so depending on where you're looking for, I refer people to him and his team and stuff like that. But I like his channel. I just, I focus on the Charlotte market. I read about these other cities just in case some of that stuff is infectious and it can come to the Charlotte market. But I just try to focus on Charlotte specific, Charlotte and kind of its, immediate surrounding areas and things like that. That's kind of what I specialize in. I can't talk on the Florida market because I don't live there. I don't work there. So I don't know what's going on. And I just can't talk on these other markets, But I do pay attention here and there just because of, hey, if it happens here, something could happen, over here as well. But any other questions you guys have, feel free to drop them down in the comments. I'll be re-uploading this video, so if you want to share it with somebody or anything like that, I'd appreciate it. Once it's re-uploaded, it'll either be Monday or Thursday, one of those days. But the market report's going to be coming out soon, which I'm interested to see in. I'm interested to see what the median price point is, because if the median price point for June is lower than it was in 2022, we can expect to see even bigger price decreases coming the seasonal slow season, which is going to start, September, October, November, December, up until February. So that's going to be interesting to see. Based off the activity that I've personally, seen, I think it will. I think the prices for the median price points will come in lower in June of 2023 than they did in June of 2022. The average price, I've been seeing a lot of higher priced homes, getting put on the market and selling and things like that. So the average price point potentially might be stable or might be a tiny bit higher. But I think the median price point will go down, which the median price point has a lot to do with obviously the market, so it's kind of the biggest sector. All right, everybody, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, hit the like button. All my contact information is listed down below. I don't see any other questions coming in. Thanks for tuning in on this live. As always, call, text, email me if there's anything I can do for you, any questions I can answer for you. And I will catch you on every Monday and Thursday for a new video market report coming out soon, and every first Thursday of the month for these lives. I'll appreciate you guys watching. We'll talk soon. Take care. Bye.